Hey friend, welcome to my podcast, The Fit Soul. I'm your host, Amy Ramsey. In this podcast, we will be discussing soul-filled strategies to unleash your confidence, increase your energy, and all the things healthy lifestyle. If you're a Christian woman who is ready to reach your God-given potential, walk worthy of your calling with abundant joy and energy, girlfriend, you are in the right spot. I mean, you only have one life to live. You might as well maximize it. Buckle in, and thanks for listening. Pesky bad habits. You're trying to break them in your life. You've been trying. Maybe some habits they're so ingrained in your life, in your lifestyle, that you've given up hope that you could change, that you could overcome a particular pattern of behavior that's not who you want to be. It's not serving you, and it feels frustrating. In fact, in trying to break bad habits and establish new habits, it can be a very discouraging process if you don't go about it the right way. If you don't have the right mindsets around it, you feel discouraged, defeated, and like you are a loser. And so I just want to say right now, this is not true. You can change. And I want to give you so many practical tips today. This is going to be a super practical podcast for you to actually break bad habits in your life so you can move forward at the capacity that you know that you can. So you can unleash that potential that's inside of you and be everything that God's calling you to be and that He wants you to be. And that is a healthy spirit in union with Him. That is a healthy soul. Remember, the name of my brand is The Fit Soul. That is all about you, your personality, your mindsets, your mission, how you show up in the world, your emotions, your emotional well-being, your mental well-being. This is all housed in your soul. And then your physical body as well. So I want you to be thinking through, what is it in your life that you are ready to break and you are ready to optimize? Don't be overthinking this. Just like think one thing, hey, I want to do this. And just let's focus on one thing for the purpose of this podcast. All right. Hey, welcome back, you guys. My name is Amy Ramsey. I am the host of the Fit Soul podcast. I am a high performance coach. I am an integrative nutrition health coach, personal trainer. Gosh, I started out as group exercise so many years ago. I have a passion. This is a God-given mission, and mine is to walk worthy of my life, of God's calling on my life, and to powerfully use my voice to help women walk worthy of their life and the calling on their life, to experience freedom and joy and confidence, all Christ-centered, all what God has for us in our physical bodies, in our spirit, and also mentally and emotionally. So one of the things that I say all the time is you can change your life with three things: your thoughts, your actions, and your habits. And I've spent several podcasts talking about habit formation, how to create new habits, how to establish proper goals, where it all starts. And it always starts with your identity. True change happens when you start with who you are, not what you are doing. Okay? So your identity, how you see yourself, is going to determine how you move forward in your future. And most of us have different areas of our life that we've got some broken identities. We've got some broken beliefs. We've got some limited beliefs about ourselves. And so moving forward, I want you to think about you as who God says that you are and what He is calling you to do. And I want you to take awareness and maybe just an account right now of where you are. How can you up level so you can push past all of the things, anything that's holding you back, and be the thriving, vibrant woman that is inside of you? You know she's there. And to recognize that the things that I just mentioned before lead into our lifestyles and our actions. So when we have this level of brokenness in our identity, it's going to lead toward bad actions or unhealthy actions that will never get us to where we're supposed to be. So us really examining, Scripture says to examine your heart, examine your life, to take an examination of where we are and where do we want to be. Elevate that. Believe bigger. Believe bigger in your impact on other people's lives. It's about you, but it's about God's glory. It's about you, but it's really about the sphere that you have to impact. You are actually built for impact. You are created for God's glory. So it always starts with our identity and who we are. And then we're going to just talk today about some unique places that midlife shifts we can find ourselves in. One of the things that I hear over and over again from women is as our bodies are shifting and changing and our hormones are, can be all over the place. Our lives as we've known them are changing as our children are getting older, maybe even leaving the nest. Our responsibilities have changed. And oftentimes we find ourselves in a new season of life or shifting into a transition in life. And we lose our sense of, hey, who am I? What am I supposed to do right now? So I want to give you I did some research around what are the top 10 bad habits during midlife. I found these really interesting. So I want you to just kind of listen to this and think through, okay, yeah, I identify with that. Yes, that sounds like me. That sounds like me. I found myself in several of these. So you probably will too. So let me just start with that. Number 1 is sedentary lifestyle, reduced physical activity and exercise compared to earlier years. Number 2, poor eating habits, unhealthy dietary choices, and overconsumption of processed foods. Number 3, lack of sleep, insufficient sleep and irregular sleep patterns. Hello, hormones, right? Number 4, stress and overwork, taking on excessive responsibilities without proper stress management. Hello, burnout. All right. Number 5, neglecting self-care, focusing more on family and work and often neglecting personal well-being. I want to add to that spiritual well-being, physical well-being, like all of the above, spirit, mind, and body. Number 6, excessive screen time. Spending excessive time on screens. This is going to be binge watching TV. This is going to be smartphones. This is going to be your computer. This is social media. This is all of the things, right? And this leads to decreased physical activity. It leads to disruptive sleep. And it also leads to leaving us feeling in that comparison mode and feeling bad about ourselves. Number 7, overindulgence in alcohol. Consuming alcohol in excess, which has negative effects on your physical, but also we all know it's not our best, right? And number 8, procrastination, delaying tasks and projects, which lead to increased stress and decreased productivity, which leads to anxiety, which leads to feeling really crappy about yourself when you are lacking that productivity. All right, number 9, isolation and social withdrawal, reducing social interactions and connections with family and friends. And then number 10 is negative self-talk, engaging in self-criticism, low self-esteem, negative thought patterns. So I want you to think through that list and jot down or just mentally take a list of, hey, those are some areas that I definitely see myself struggling in. And I want you to know that there is freedom and liberty on the other side for you. There is, healed people heal people. I was so broken in my life, so stuck in negative, oh my goodness, the worst negative mindsets and the way that I spoke to myself and criticized myself. I was like the worst. And so I understand now on the other side of breaking those level of bad habits and some others like perfectionism and like people pleasing and how those things held me back. I'm such an advocate now to help you get to the freedom. So any of those areas in your life that you're like, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Hey, let's up level. Let's work on that. Let's up level your life. So real quickly, for you to understand how you can change whatever you've been doing over and over and over and over and over again, even with the best intention and you're not getting to the other side, you got to change your strategy. Like that's not going to work for you. I want to go through a neuroscience approach. Like how does your brain actually establish a habit? So with us breaking a bad habit, it's often that we're going to start a new habit. To break a bad habit, you typically are going to start with establishing a new pattern. So one of the things that you can ask to yourself, whatever goal that you've got, whatever this new action that you want to create in your life to create a new habit, you've got to think to yourself, what habit do I need to stop and what habit do I need to start? Craig Rochelle talks about that in his book, The Power of Change. In fact, you'll see The Power of Change is a book that I highly recommend, and also Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I'm going to utilize the resources that those men have put together and pull some of that in this podcast. Okay, so real quickly, let's recap the habit loop. And you can go back and listen to this in a previous podcast. I think it's 2 podcasts before this one, where I dive into the science of what the habit loop is. The habit loop is, it is how habits are actually formed. It consists of 3 parts. It consists of a cue, which is also your trigger. And that's that initial signal that prompts your brain to enter autopilot. And it starts a particular habit. So cues can be environmental, they can be emotional, they can be situational, and then they trigger the actual habit themselves. Okay, so the next part of the habit loop is your routine. Now that's the actual behavior. So the routine is the action that you perform in response to the cue. And then over time, the more that you do this, it becomes ingrained in your brain. Now, the reward is the positive outcome or the satisfaction that you receive as completing this routine. Reward reinforces the habit loop by creating a sense of pleasure. And so remember this, what's rewarded in the brain is repeated. And we're going to talk about that a lot because as you're establishing new, healthier habits to replace the bad habits, I want you to get in that habit of rewarding yourself and celebrating small successes. The power of understanding this habit loop and the science behind habits, it will actually empower you to take control over your habits. We're first going to start by recognizing the cues and then altering the routines and then identifying a new reward. And as you do this, you actually reshape your neural pathways. As you consciously disrupt the habit loops that are no longer serving you, you're rewiring your brain's connection, and then you replace, what you're going to end up doing is gradually replacing the old habits with actually new habits, new positive behavior. Now, this is going to require you to be patient and persistent, but think of this podcast and the science of this as tools for your tool belt. When you implement these changes, it will work. All right, let me illustrate a habit loop for you just so you can kind of understand. And remember, cue, routine, reward. Cue, routine, reward. So here's an example that most of us struggle with, which is addiction to our cell phone. You check your smartphone whenever it buzzes, or you just check it all the time to see if you've got a notification. That is the cue. And then the routine is you go and you scroll through social media, or your emails, or any notification that you have. That is your routine. And that feels a sense of connection or entertainment, or your curiosity is rewarded. That's your reward. So the cue is your phone buzzes, you get a notification. The routine is you go through all the scrolling all the apps and looking at all the stuff that you've got. And the reward is that you feel either a sense of connection, your curiosity is satisfied, or you're entertained. And so over time, this loop becomes ingrained and you find yourself automatically reaching for your phone whenever you hear a buzz. So for you to get in this process, the first thing you need to do is understand and identify the bad habits. Acknowledge the things that are holding you back, whether it's procrastination, indulging in unhealthy foods, maybe too much wine, spending too much time on social media. Recognize the habits that are impacting your life. Bring awareness to this. And this is going to be your first step towards change. The second step is you're going to identify the triggers that are setting off the habits. Is it stress that's a catalyst for emotional eating? Is it stress that's the catalyst for that glass of wine that you're not wanting to have? Is it boredom that's leading to excessive screen time? Is it avoidance that's leading to excessive screen time? Understanding what is prompting the habits, and then also understanding what is the reward that you receive. So the reward is a little quick gratification. The reward could be momentary relief from your struggles and your stress. The reward could be, one thing that I see a lot in my own life, and especially with high performers and ambitious women, is workaholism and striving. And it's oftentimes a distraction for maybe even something that's hurting worse in their lives. It's like avoiding it. So if I can go distract myself, then I avoid what's really going on. So truly bringing awareness to this is the first key, because a habit is an automatic pilot loop. You're not even thinking about what you're doing. Your brain literally is conserving energy and it's going right to it. So we have to really think through and bring awareness to what are our cues, what are our routines that we want to disrupt, and what are the rewards. We have to bring some new rewards to our brain. All right, so one of the things that's really helpful is to, whatever the habit is that you're doing, is think, what do you want to do in this situation? Do you want to replace it, remove it, or reduce the habit? Most of us can't just throw our cell phones out the window. We need our cell phones, so learning how to manage ourselves on the cell phone is the wiser choice. And so that may mean reducing, right? But then sometimes we have habits in our lives that we need to replace. We have unhealthy food options and we need to replace it with healthier food options. Or we do emotional eating and we might want to replace it with mindfulness and maybe some meditation, maybe some exercise or movement, okay? So replacing means substituting a positive behavior for a negative one. So if you have the stress trigger of overeating, you could replace that with a 10-minute brisk walk. Distract yourself. Go do that. Removing would mean eliminating cues that prompt the habit. So clear your environment of unhealthy temptations. I'm telling you, I cannot keep cookies in this house. That would be a problem. I cannot do it. I'm telling you, there's a 400-pound woman on the inside of this body that's dying to come out because she loves cookies and sweets so much. I can't have them in my house. I know this, so I have to remove it. And then we've already talked about reducing, reducing your screen time. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear outlines a 4-step framework for building good habits and breaking bad ones. In the book, Atomic Habits, James Clear outlines a brilliant 4-step framework for building good habits and breaking bad ones. And I spoke about how to build the good habits with this framework in the last podcast. Today, we're going to focus more on how to break the bad habits. So the steps for, and he calls this the 4 laws of behavior change. Number 1 is Q, make it obvious. Number 2, make it attractive. That's for your craving. Number 3, make it easy. And number 4, make it satisfying. Now to break a bad habit, here are the 4 tips. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it difficult. Make it unsatisfying. When you're breaking up a bad habit, it can be hard. And it can be difficult. It can be frustrating, right? We've already determined that we always have to implement a level of discipline. And sometimes I hear my clients say, oh, well, I don't have any discipline. And that's actually not true. We all have discipline. We use it in some area of our life. And one of the things that helps us to kind of move forward is to think back through an area of our life that we overcame, that we did have success at one time. So I love this definition of discipline. It's choosing what you want most over what you want now. Choose your pain. It's painful. You either choose your pain of discipline or you choose your pain of regret. So it's important to know that when you are starting this process of changing bad habits, you're going to overcome obstacles. You will hit some setbacks. And it's important for you to understand that you can do this, but you need to implement discipline and practice delayed gratification, which is never fun because our spirit and our flesh are constantly fighting with each other. In fact, this morning I read in Galatians, let's see here, 5:16 that says, walk in the spirit and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. We will be in a battle of our spirit versus our flesh till the day we die. And the further down talks about the fruit of the Spirit, what that is, what that looks like. It's love, it's joy, it's peace, it's patience, it's kindness, it's goodness, it's faithfulness, it's gentleness, it's self-control. That's the fruit of the Spirit in our life. That's what we want, right? So if we live by the Spirit, let us walk by the Spirit. So I want to encourage you right now that as you have to implement that discipline and implement some willpower for you to rely on the Spirit of God in your life and to ask the Spirit of God for help and assistance in this area. Because when we do things on our own, we can do it. But what I'm going to give you right now is a brain dump of strategies and techniques. And don't use all of them. Pick and choose what you can take and implement right now. But the first one is prayer and surrender. Begin with surrendering this challenge over to God. And know that the power of God can help you. So whatever it is, let's say it's a habit of negative self-talk. Surrendering your doubts to the Lord and reminding yourself of who He says that you are. I want you to remember that every single life shift begins with a mind shift. So what mind shifts do you need to have in your life to move forward? And as a believer, we have the power of the Holy Spirit within us. Your willpower will wilt. To utilize the Spirit that's within you and to operate from a place of surrender to God and let Him help you on this process so you can be fruitful. It's almost like thinking about if you were a tree, what type of fruit would you have in your life? Are you full of the fruit of the Spirit in your life because of the choices that you're making, the way that you're managing yourself, the way that you're managing your time, the way that you're nourishing your spirit, nourishing your soul, nourishing your body, all the things. So let's just keep that in mind. And in this same passage, before I jump into more techniques for you to brain dump, I want to remind you that of the principle that we reap what we sow. And what does that mean? This process of delayed gratification is almost foreign in our culture now because if we want something, we go get it. But do you remember planting a little seed way back when in school? Or maybe your grandmother had a garden, or maybe you've got a garden. But planting a little seed, you plant it in the ground, and then you have to water it, you have to tend to it, you have to prune it, you have to weed it, add fertilizer to it so it'll grow. So when you plant a little seed, you have to tender it and help it come to life. I had a garden for 2 years. Way back when, I had this really sweet, he wasn't a neighbor, he was somebody's dad in my church. And he was retired and was an amazing gardener and he just loved gardening. And he agreed to help me come and establish a garden. And wow, it was a really interesting process. It was a lot of work, but it was really beautiful to actually plant the seeds and watch the fruit come up from that seed. But if I was gone out of town for a couple of weeks during that process, it would be overrun with weeds. If it didn't get enough water, those plants would shrivel up and die up. And so the same thing with us, we reap what we sow. So what we're tendering, what we're taking care of, what we're valuing, what do we want? We want that good fruit to come forth. So again, this is a matter of you taking awareness of your life, where you are, and how your actions matter. The small actions that you're making now matter. Instead of saving money for your future to have financial freedom or to give generously, it matters that you're spending money on Starbucks or scrolling all the time on social media and buying on Amazon. It matters what you're doing in your health right now, especially if you want to live a strong life and have an age with independence. It matters the way that you're nourishing your body. What you put in your body right now matters for the long haul. How you are cultivating and nurturing relationships in your life. Are you spending time with them? Are you prioritizing people? Are you kind? Are you gentle with people? Are you nurturing the relationships that matter to you most? Are you available, like truly available and present in those relationships? Because that matters now for the long haul. You're reaping what you sow. How about your relationship with the Lord? Is it where you want it to be? Are you too busy? Are you too distracted? Do you have too many divided interests and you feel it in your heart and it feels icky? Or maybe you've got some sin in your life that's active and it's separating you from the Lord. Again, we reap what we sow. And so this idea, moving forward, breaking these bad habits in your life, I really want you to take into account that this is a delayed gratification process. You will have to institute that discipline of what do you want most over what you want. Now, I'm getting really passionate about this. I'm feeling fired up as I'm sharing this because we quit too quickly. We don't see the importance of these small steps that we're taking right now. So I want to encourage you that the small things that you're doing right now matter. How you manage your time and yourself in relation to time, it matters. How you're handling your relationships, how you show up for them, are you present fully? That matters. How you treat other people, even maybe they work for you, maybe strangers, with kindness, that matters. With gentleness, it matters. All of these things really matter, and you really matter. All right, so let's jump right into a whole bunch of strategies for you to move forward and break these habits. Okay, here we go. Disrupt your established pattern loops. I'm going to be vulnerable and share a habit that I have broken in my life. And I know that this is a struggle for many women. So I just want to share this with you and let you know that number one, that you're not alone. And that is drinking wine or alcoholic beverages more regularly than you want to. So I decided for me that on the weekdays, I don't want to drink any alcohol. And I kept trying to not have a glass of wine. But what happened was it became a habit, not to drunkenness. So I didn't feel guilty about it, but it wasn't sitting right with me. Like, this is just not okay for me. And I kept trying and I had to shift. So I just decided, all right, I don't drink wine on Monday through Thursday at a minimum. And what I had to do was disrupt the pattern. End of a stressful day, end of day at work, hubby comes home, we enjoy a glass of wine together or a drink, cook supper. That was our routine. Well, I had to disrupt that. So instead of, even when the cravings hit, even when that cue hit, it was like, okay, now it's the time to grab the glass of wine. I would go for a walk and I would listen to a guided biblical meditation and I would utilize that to de-stress. It wasn't as easy as I would like to say that it was. It was discipline. I had to choose what I wanted most over what I wanted then. What I wanted then was just a little glass of wine. It felt innocent, right? Not a big deal. But it wasn't serving the woman that I am becoming and who I am. It didn't feel right for me. And then on top of that, I'll also at night, I get myself a cute little wine glass. And again, this is disrupting the pattern. And I pour in my cute little wine glass, I pour a LaCroix, where it's yummy, it's effervescent, it looks pretty. That's how I disrupted that pattern until it became a new habit for me in the evening to de-stress. I go for a walk with a meditation, and it really helps me to center and to wind down in a healthy way. Too much time on your cell phone. Remove it. Make it harder to get to. Make it more difficult and more difficult if you're having a hard time separating yourself from your phone. Maybe practice it. Disrupt that pattern saying, okay, for 1 hour, or if that feels like too much, 30 minutes, I will not touch my phone. I will not check my phone. Now, for me, sometimes I have to put my phone in on the other side of the house so I don't check it and so I can get present. Here's another idea. And these are just a lot of the things that I hear women really, really struggling with in my Walkworthy mentorship, in my one-on-one clients. These are the things that they're trying to break. So I just want to give you some practical ideas. Another thing is establishing a healthier evening routine, a nighttime routine, and trying to get off of your phone or stop watching TV before you go to bed. So disrupt that pattern. Pick a time that you're going to turn off the TV and turn off your phone, and you're done. And do something else with that. Practice gratitude. Write in your gratitude journal. Grab a book and read a book. So break the bad habit associations. Disrupt the pattern where you have that cue and that trigger, and tell yourself, what else can you replace it with in a way that feels rewarding? Remember, what's rewarded in the brain is repeated. Accountability. Accountability is huge in you moving forward in success in an area. This is one of the reasons why coaching is such a smart way to go to move forward. When you coach with someone, when you coach with me, what we do is we start with where you are now and come up with a plan, a strategy to move you forward. It's a forward moving motion. When you're in counseling and in therapy, which, hey, I think those are all important, you go backwards so you can move forward. You have to go and heal stuff from the past often so you can move forward in a healthy way. Well, coaching, we take you where you are and then move you in the direction that you want to be. So seek accountability. Tell somebody else what your goal is. Tell somebody else what you're doing and declare it. Declare these things to them. And coaching, my Walkworthy mentorship, my Walkworthy mentorship. Okay, there we go. I can't get my words out. This is a shameless plug, an absolute shameless plug for you to come join my community of like-minded women that are ambitious and looking to level up their life in every aspect, spiritual, soulful, body, all the things, and to be held accountable at a higher capacity. I would love for you to join my group. So you can check the show notes or go to thefitsoul.com and you can join right away. We have 2 mentorships a month where we hop on and we talk about these things, and you get a hot seat to sit and talk about where you are and what you want to do in your life and get coached by me. So I highly encourage you to join that. Okay. Affirmations. You telling your brain who you are. Your brain doesn't know the difference if you've accomplished it yet or not. And so really learning to work with the brain and work with the neuroscience of your brain. It is powerful. This was the biggest thing that started to shift my life. When I really understood that I was meant for more, it was that identity piece first. But then when I worked with my brain and learned how to reframe the negative thoughts and learned how to take it through a process to rewire new neural pathways, it was game over for me. You couldn't hold me back at that point. I teach my exact methodology on how I did this and how it transformed my life, and it's transforming the ladies that I work with. It transforms their life. So practice your affirmations. If you want more help with that and you want to know how I can help you implement this, then you can join my mentorship, or we can hop on a discovery call and talk about what that looks like to work with me one-on-one. Okay, practice mindfulness and self-awareness. You cannot change what you're not aware of. And so you being very open to what are you doing, what actions are you taking? And if you're not getting the results that you want, then you can change your thought processes or what is going on around you. Why am I doing this emotional eating? Understanding what your triggers are. Okay. I know on this, I've talked a lot about delayed gratification, but we just need to be realistic about what does that mean. That means it's going to suck for a hot minute. But here's the cool thing. If you can wait about 20 minutes, the craving will subside. So when you have a cue or when you're being triggered, think to yourself, HALT, HALT. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? And if you're any of those, hangry, lonely, or tired, you're more susceptible to give into that craving. So just remember that. Hang on 20 minutes. I actually had a client who practiced this. It was amazing. She ate fast food all the time. She works a lot, and that was just her routine. And within her first month, she stopped eating. She used delayed gratification. She did not go through the drive-through, but she ate home-cooked meals, and she lost over 16 pounds in 1 month. From that one going through the fast food to eating something nutritious. That one switch, that one change, it was huge. Not only did it change her weight, she lost more weight, a lot more weight after that, but 1 month, 16 pounds. Her cholesterol dropped, her blood pressure, she got off blood pressure medication right away, and several other things. It's really powerful what happens. Okay, choose healthy rewards. I know I've said it probably 10 times on this podcast, but I want you to get off of this podcast and hear my little voice chirping in your brain. Healthy rewards. What's rewarded in the brain is repeated. So learn that this is the way the habit loop works. Reward yourself with, of course, healthier alternatives. So when you enjoy that, let's say blueberries as a snack or as a dessert after dinner, and it's not a sugary processed thing, even though it doesn't taste as good and you're not getting that massive dopamine hit from the sugar, but learn to say, oh, this is really good. This is really satisfying. I'm really proud of myself for choosing blueberries over a sugary dessert. And start swapping out the sugary snacks for healthy options. And when you do that, realize that you're nurturing your body, and it's a rewarding act of self-care and self-love. But tell yourself that, like, good job. I'm proud of myself. You can say it out loud, or you can just say it to yourself, but be proud of yourself because you really want to anchor in your brain that you've got a new reward for the new habit, the healthier habit that you are implementing in your life. Okay, practice gratitude. This can't be said enough. The simple practice of gratitude is a game changer for every aspect of your life. And so journaling, I'm such a proponent of journaling and being mindful of what you're grateful for. Look around, and the daily practice of gratitude will help to support even bad habits in your life, but it'll shift your brain. It'll help you to stop the habit of complaining. It'll help you to develop a more positive outlook in your life and to feel more excited about the future. This is just from practicing gratitude. It's powerful. Okay, celebrate small wins, celebrate victories. So I want you to, again, get in that habit of creating that reward loop in your brain, but also celebrate the milestones. One of the things that I had a client do years ago, she was trying to develop the habit of exercising when she got home from work. And she was tired from her long day at work, and she would come home and if she didn't go and exercise or go for a walk immediately, then she wasn't going to exercise. And she learned that about herself. So what she decided to do was, if she came home, she sat down and immediately changed her clothes and immediately went out for her exercise, for a walk or to do her exercise. And if she would do that for 5 days in a row, then she rewarded herself with something small, like a tube of lip gloss that she wanted, or a small pair of earrings. I'm not talking about anything that's going to break the bank, but just something fun that maybe you wouldn't treat yourself for. But do you see how that was just for a week? And it helped her get into that habit of regular exercise and moving her body more. Okay. Visualization. I did an entire podcast on the power of visualization. So here's some things that you can do. Think about imagining yourself overcoming the challenge that you currently have. Imagine yourself free from the habit of overthinking, let's say, and how empowering it would be to break that habit and to be decisive. Take time to imagine yourself successful at the thing that you're trying to break and the freedom that you experience. This is so powerful. And by the way, it's not woo-woo. This just helps keep you in your vision. Okay, let's see here. Let me see if I missed anything on my help. Okay, if you struggle, never hesitate to get professional help. I've already mentioned that going to a therapist, there's nothing wrong with that. I hope that you can see by utilizing this neuroscience and remembering neuroplasticity and understanding how your brain is actually adaptable and how you can actually create new neural pathways and how to stop cycles, how to disrupt the cues and the triggers that you're feeling, and to practice that delayed gratification and discipline and invite the Holy Spirit to give you the power, that this is such a game changer for you, for your life. I want to encourage you to be patient with this process and patient in the journey. As James Clear says, 1% better every single day. Don't forget, and I love the way that Craig Rochelle puts this about reaping and sowing like we talked about. If you don't like what you're reaping, change what you're sowing. If you don't like the harvest, change the seed. God has something more for you in your life. And for us to move forward in that and to become everything that He's calling us to be is powerful, because you matter. Your actions matter. The little actions in your life matter. You feeling confident and good about yourself matters. That's how God sees you, and that's how He wants you to see you. All right. I hope you enjoyed this series. And if you want more help on this, I would love to help you. I actually have a freebie today, and it's on habits. It's a PDF to help get you started. So you can go to the show notes, grab that. And then also, again, if you want that extra help, please let me know. We can hop on a phone call and see if we're a good fit for each other. But my clients get results, period, the end. And I would love to help you get to that next level. We all need a little help. Listen, I'm a coach, and I keep a coach. It's important. It moves me forward at a faster rate. I would love for you to share this episode with anyone that you feel like it might benefit. And I appreciate you being here, and I will see you same time next week. Thanks. Girlfriend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so honored you come back every week and that you share the Fit Soul podcast with your friends and family. Every time you share my podcast on Instagram or Facebook, I do a little happy dance. Make sure you subscribe to the Fit Soul podcast, where you'll never miss an episode. You can go to Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode release. And just know, I truly love bringing you excellent content and great guests to provide you motivation and faith inspiration to help you walk worthy. And one of the ways you can help me is to go and leave the Fit Soul podcast a review. If you have just a moment, would you please go over and leave a review for the Fit Soul podcast? Thank you again. I love you. And here is your reminder. You are worthy. Until next time. Bye-bye.